We loved the Jim Harbaugh signing for many reasons as a proven winner, but one of the underrated reasons that I love the hiring is just because of the amount of calm and composure I believe this team will now find in late game scenarios, in clutch scenarios, which is why I think that the days of charging are over.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers together now for 9 seasons, but this is our 7th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you to all everydayers out there for making us your first listen today, and to make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
Well, Daniel, the Chargers got absolutely embarrassed last year by the Raiders, and that embarrassment caused the Chargers to do a complete 180, a 180 that I believe will be the end of chargering as we know it. Also, I feel like the Chargers are going to make the playoffs this year. I think a wildcard spot is going to have their name on it, and I'm curious, will Tarheeb Still start in week 1?
I know if we asked the guest we had last week, Sean Merriman, what he thinks, I think he'd say yes, but we've heard a lot of great things so far about Tarheeb Still, and it's a competition between him and Jasir Taylor. We will see who will win that, but today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. The sport stops sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. David, it is a buy or sell show getting into the biggest storylines and overreactions, and we've loved getting your guys' input on things to talk about on these days, and thank you to everyone who hit us up at Locked On LAC. And when I say hit us up, I mean, damn, like hit us up like enough to do 3 shows worth of buy or sell. So we'll definitely use the ones we don't get into on future shows because there was just so many that we got today. So thank you to the everydayers, the Bolt fam out there for really coming through for us. And we have a lot of great stuff to get into, including this from CMC Sports, who says this: buy or sell, the days of Chargers charging is over. Short and sweet, David, but a gigantic question that looms over this team right now. And I think when I look at Jim Harbaugh and what I hope he can bring, I do think he can do it. And it's something that many coaches before him have not been able to do.
Yeah, I completely agree. I am definitely buying the fact that the charging is over. I kind of alluded to, where the start of this was. The Chargers got embarrassed by the Raiders. 63-21 is absolutely horrible. It's horrendous.
I don't even know if that's charging, though. When I think of charging, I think of 27-0.
No,
I think of Marlon McCree fumbling. You know what I'm saying? Like 63-21 is just a beatdown. You know what I mean? But this is a clutch thing, right? This is hey, the Chargers are up 14 points in the fourth quarter, and I can't feel good about it because I'm a Chargers fan and I've seen this happen too many times.
No, I know. I mean that by saying is that happened to allow the Chargers ownership to wake up and make the necessary changes, like bringing in a Jim Harbaugh that will be the end of charging. They're hiring an experienced winning head coach. That head coach got to handpick his general manager. So that communication, that relationship should be sound, should be smooth. And they are going to forge an identity through hard work, physicality, and attention to detail that I believe will be the difference in them closing out and winning football games. That's why I believe the days of charging are over.
I'm buying it, and I think this is an important part of this. It doesn't mean the Chargers are going to be perfect in one-score games.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they're going to come through in every big moment. They're not going to. What it means is that's no longer going to be their identity, right? Like, people aren't going to think of the Chargers, and word association is going to be, okay, well, they're going to blow it. And this is another part of this. It's not saying, hey, is it going to be over in 2024? It's going to take time. Brandon Staley, the first day he came in, his opening press conference was talking about not charging. Like, this is something that many coaches before him have, really failed to do, to get this team away from the stigma of, okay, hey, the Chargers are going to blow it at some point, whether it's in the playoffs, whether it's a regular season. If they're up and late, it's not going to happen for them. Something is going to go wrong. And I just think that, like, okay, a 27-0 game against the Jaguars doesn't happen if you have a good running game, right? That's what they're trying to instill here. Like, Marlon McCree, that game doesn't happen if you have the attention to detail, if you have the discipline needed to know in that scenario, you get an interception, you go down right away. And that's just a couple, and Marty Schottenheimer is a great coach. Sure. But I think the parts of what Jim Harbaugh has been telling us this entire offseason lead you to believe that that is the thing he is very, very focused on getting done, is to stop being the team that finds themselves with that lack of attention to detail late in games and can't come through at the end of games. I also think I trust Jesse Minter late in games. I trust Cameron Dicker late in games, right? Like these are all things that I believe that will help the Chargers get over that chargering thing that really has plagued them for so long. But let's get another big one here from Red Sonia 11, who asked this: buy or sell? We have the best upgraded coaching staff in the NFL. That's a big thing to say. David, are you agreeing with her?
I am. I am agreeing with her. I'm buying that. And I think obviously a large portion of that is just the degree of difference between Brandon Staley and Jim Harbaugh. No disrespect to Brandon Staley, but Jim Harbaugh, I mean, a little disrespect. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he was not great. But Jim Harbaugh has won every single place that he's been at every single level from the beginning of him starting coaching, to now. I mean, this guy has done nothing but win. I mean, just coming off of a national championship. But it's not just him. It's also, it's Greg Roman and Marcus Brady and Mark Trustman coming in on the offensive side. Like, hey, let's face it here. The offense was not very good last year. It was very one-dimensional, like it has been for several years. So we know what Greg Roman's going to bring to the table. He's going to bring a very, very good diabolical rushing scheme to the table. If he's able to pair that with the coaches I just mentioned to try to, improve the passing concepts and get that to a better, stronger place, then I do believe the offense is going to be much better. On defense, Jesse Minter, I feel like is going to be able to, if he's able to make better play calls, if he's able to utilize his personnel more effectively and make more real-time adjustments in game, I think the Chargers defense is going to be way better than it was the last few seasons. And I don't even need to talk about the special teams because the special teams was already phenomenal. But I just love the collection of coaches that they brought to the table, bringing in Nick Hardwick, bringing in Navarro Bowman, these guys that have played in the league, that have had experience, that have done it at an extremely high level. And also, this is one of the biggest coaching staffs I can remember in recent history. It is gigantic. The Chargers definitely did not spare any expense on trying to go get and fill up Jim Harbaugh's staff.
Yeah, I'm buying it. I think the one thing you left out there is what any other team got, right? Because that is another important part of it. And I think the big reason why is like, okay, well, like in the case for the Patriots and Seahawks, like you're losing Bill Belichick, right? You're losing legendary coaches there. Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, another good coach, Like I just think that Brandon Staley to Jim Harbaugh is obviously a huge, huge gulf. It just is. But I think the staff is where it really separates itself, and you don't take the subtraction of Ryan Ficken because that would be a blow against them, right? Definitely. If they weren't able to retain him. Staley didn't get the unlimited funds that Jim Harbaugh got to build the staff. And we're not even talking about the performance staff and getting Ben Herbert, the highest paid strength and conditioning guy in all of college football. But you get the former players, you get guys that Jim Harbaugh actually knows and has connections to, unlike Brandon Staley. I just think overall it's a much better staff all around, but definitely Staley to Harbaugh is going to be the headliner there. Let's get to this one quickly, David. A quick buy or sell, one-word answer. Not quite a buy or sell, but over under 1.5 years with Jesse Minter as the defensive coordinator from Andrew on Twitter. That means, okay, the buy or sell is this. Jesse Minter will be the defensive coordinator for 2 or more years with the Chargers.
I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, I think I'm buying it too. I mean, David didn't use one word, he used several words, but he kept it short and sweet, which is what we needed. Yeah, to me, 2 years feels about like the earliest it could happen. Maybe there's also a little bit of Brandon Staley buyer's remorse there because Brandon Staley went to the Rams, one season, had the best defense in the league, got hired to be the Chargers coach, and it all fell apart because being a head coach is much different than being a defensive coordinator. And the Chargers ended up finding out the hard way. I think that, 2 years. And also probably, I think this team will be a lot closer to letting Jesse Minter have the pieces to maximize his defense. 2 years of getting him the players that he likes and that fit his scheme. Then I think he has a great chance of jumping ship and finding an opportunity somewhere. And you hope that he built the foundation that another coach can come in and kind of keep what you have going in the right direction, assuming that it's going well. But how well will it go? And will the Chargers find a way to make the playoffs and snag one of these wild card spots? I'm going to tell you why I'm buying that, but I'm also selling that they could get off to a 4-0 start in 2024 and more on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, though, I need to tell you guys about FanDuel because I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. And as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. And all I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is doing something different because they are hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long, not just for new customers, for returning customers as well. And summer is about baseball. And one of the things that I love on FanDuel is the home run parlay builder, stacking together guys who will hit home runs and getting ridiculous odds. But let's get to what we're talking about, right? I do think the Chargers will make the playoffs. And if you want to go on FanDuel and put your money where your mouth is, they're plus 106 to make the playoffs right now. That's plus odds. And if you think they're going to get to 10 wins, you can get that at plus 138. Go for it. Go to FanDuel. Get in on this baseball action because even if you don't like baseball as much, it's a lot more fun when you're using FanDuel with baseball and combining those two things. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. David, we have more great buy or sells to get into here, including the one we have from Swim Shady, who hit us up at LockedOnLAC on Twitter, who said, buy or sell, the Chargers will be a wild card team. And this is very specific, right? This is not the Chargers will make the playoffs. It's not that the Chargers will win the division. It's the Chargers will be specifically a wild card team, which to me always felt like the most realistic option. But if you're buying this, you're also saying you don't think that they can win the division. So are you buying or selling the Chargers as a wild card team in 2024?
Yeah, I definitely want to knock the Chiefs off the top of the mountain, but I don't know if they're ready to do it yet. That's why I am buying it. I do believe they will be a wild card team here. I think Justin Herbert with a running game will be quite deadly. I think that's something that the league has not seen yet, and they're going to see it, and they're not going to like it very much when they play the Chargers. Also, I feel like Jim Harbaugh is going to make very strong game management decisions because that's what he does. He's showcased that ability throughout the years as a head coach, and I do feel like the defense will be much more improved with a more player-friendly scheme.
Yeah, I've said with the Chiefs, I have to see the Chargers. Like if the Chargers go beat the Chiefs twice and then still somehow don't win the division, right? Like then it would be a situation where I could next year be like, yeah, they're going to win the division this year. That weird stuff's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Until something like that happens, until I see them actually go up against Andy Reid and all of those guys and beat them and win the division and take it from them, I'm not going to predict that it's going to happen. Go show me that you can do it. That's always what it's been. I've been burned too many times. Wild card, though, I've said it before. I think if they don't make the playoffs with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, it's a disappointment. And I think that they can, even with a roster that we know is flawed. I think with other parts of the game as far as coaching and the depth that this team has, that they can make the playoffs. And the most likely way it's going to happen is a wild card slot. It's going to still be incredibly hard, though. The AFC is just so nuts. I mean, you have Bills, Chiefs, Dolphins, Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Texans, Jaguars. That's more than 7 teams. You know what I mean? Like only some good teams are going to get left out. And that's not even to talk about the kind of in the middle teams like the Steelers or the Colts or, you know, one of those other teams who I'm sure the Jets even, right? That think they're going to make a run.
Sure.
It's going to be really tough. I think the Chargers getting the NFC South this year works in their favor. I think the Raiders and the Broncos both being a mess works in their favor. I think they'll be a wild card team in 2024 and then potentially start challenging for the division crown in year 2 of Jim Harbaugh, unless he just blows everybody's, minds by just doing it in year 1, which, I guess with Jim Harbaugh, you should never be surprised. It'd be crazy
Done it before.
If he could recreate that. Yeah. If he could recreate that, that'd be pretty nuts. But let's get to this buy or sell here from Antonio GN on Twitter, who's asking, buy or sell, the Chargers will head to the bye week with a 4-0 record. Oh, I think I'm selling it. I mean, we already went through game by game and did this. It's the Raiders at the Panthers, at the Steelers, against the Chiefs at home. You might split with the Chiefs, right? I don't know if you're winning all 4 of those games. I think expecting that is a lot. I honestly think that the better buy or sell here would be, is it a disappointment if they don't come out of those games 3-1? Because I think that you want to go 3-1 during that stretch. But David, do you think they could go 4-0? Are you buying that or are you selling that? I know you think they'll split with the Chiefs.
Yes. So I've gone back and forth with this scenario. Obviously, when we did our record predictions here, I
So
had them
early.
going 3-1 in this stretch. But
Yeah.
I had them losing to the Steelers, not
Right.
losing to the Chiefs. I'm going to stick with that for now. I just feel like that Steelers game is always very volatile. There's a lot of things that always happen in that, a lot of voodoo stuff, a lot of crazy stuff that happens in those matchups. It just seems to be crazy football games. Obviously, we'll see what it looks like under Jim Harbaugh for the Chargers there. But the Steelers are always a pretty quality football team. They're going to put up a fight. I feel like the Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs in this first game. I feel like they're set up to do so. They should be the healthiest that they are going to be all season, at least when they are facing the Chiefs. They get them at home. I just like their chances a lot more, and I'm going to stick with that. I feel like the Chargers are going to win that game, but it's going to be 3-1. I don't think it's going to be 4-0. I'd love to see it, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, like I said, I would buy it if it was 3-1. Do you think it's if they go 2-2 during that stretch? Are you buying that's a disappointment?
Absolutely, yes. That's a huge disappointment. I don't want to see that. I just don't see it. There's like two opponents that they should lose to. There's no way they are better than three of those.
But that's
teams.
2-2, right? Well, yeah. If you're saying three of the teams, yeah. But you also have them losing to a team you think is worse than them, right? In this scenario. Yeah. But that's why it's so hard to do predictions at the time of the season when we did that, when the schedule came out. Don't predict the entire season in May, because then you're going to defend it through the rest of summer. Yeah, I think they could absolutely go 3-1. And I think if you could start off 3-1 to start Jim Harbaugh's career, you take that. I also think that there's games in the schedule where they're going to have to get fat on, especially to help them coast through some really tough stretches later on in the year where it's like, hey, you might not beat some of the really good teams on your schedule, but if you lose to some of these bad teams early on, you're going to keep looking back at the end of the season and being like, damn, how did we lose to the Steelers in week 3, right? Like stuff like that. But the Raiders in general, like, don't give me any loss to the Raiders, which brings us to our next one here from Joseph Rodriguez, who has us buying or selling. The Chargers go at least 4-2 in the division this upcoming year, which to me basically means this. You either sweep both the bad teams, the Broncos and the Raiders. I know Sam's Bolts as asking if the Chargers could sweep one of those two, but in this scenario, to go 4-2, you have to either sweep both of them, lose both games to the Chiefs, or you go 3-1 and split against the Chiefs. David, are you buying a 4-2 record for the Chargers in the division?
I am, but I'm buying it at a higher degree because I've already said it. I think the Chargers are going 5-1 in the division. They are better than the Raiders. They are better than the Broncos. Both of those teams are in rebuilds. They're trying to figure out who their quarterbacks are or if they have the right quarterback that they drafted. I think there's a lot that you have to figure out there. If you don't know who your quarterback is, if you're not sure you have one of those elite guys, then you're rebuilding until you find that guy. And I don't think either one of those teams can feel confident at this moment in time that they have those guys like the Chargers do. The Chargers got Justin Herbert. The Chargers got Jim Harbaugh. I think that's, one of the better coach and quarterback tandems in the NFL. And I believe it will express itself this season.
I think that they're better than the Broncos and the Raiders. And the problem is that's never stopped them from losing to them before.
I know.
If I had a nickel for every time the Chargers lost to a worse divisional opponent, right, I'd probably have like $6 in my life right now. Like, that's a lot. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell that they go at least 4-2. I could see it being 3-3. When we did the record prediction, I had them losing both games to the Chiefs and one game to the Broncos. Haven't won in Denver since 2018. It's always a tough place to play. This year, you're getting them early with Bo Nix. As far as the Raiders go, they have two quarterbacks, Aiden O'Connell, and they have Gardner Minshew. And you know what they say, if you have two quarterbacks, you really have no quarterbacks. So I think that you absolutely have to sweep the Raiders this year. I want to put everything on that because I just don't think there's any excuse for a Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert team to lose to a team like that. That's obviously flawed and also doesn't have a legitimate starting quarterback on their roster. As far as the Broncos go, you get them on the road early in the season, right? When Bo Nix, guessing he'll be starting by then, I would have to assume, given the other options in Denver. You get him early-ish. Sean Payton's a great coach, though. It should be a game that's always tough because it's always tough. But the Chargers obviously should be better equipped to handle the games like that. They should be better conditioned to handle the altitude in Denver, but you just never know until you're there. It's a tough place to play for a reason. And I do think that they could go 4-2. I just don't think it's at least 4-2 inside the division because I'm with the Chiefs, it's hard to say. Could I see 4-2? Absolutely. Do I think it's at least 4-2? I'm going to sell that for the time being. But we still have more great stuff to get into, including really a tough buy or sell. Buying or selling if Tarheeb Still, the 5th round pick, will have a starting position wrapped up by week 1. Oh, that's tough. And also, if Christian Fulton could look and turn into that cornerback 1 that the Chargers have been looking for a while, that they thought they had in J.C. Jackson, and then get extended by the team. We're going to talk about all that and much more on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, though, I need to tell you guys about eBay Motors, because passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive, because ebaymotors.com has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Whether it's superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you need and exactly what you're looking for. And you always get the eBay Guaranteed Fit, because your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. David, we still have more great stuff to get into on this buy or sell show, but thank you to all the everydayers for checking out today's show, and thank you to everyone who contributed on this show and gave us our most responded to buy or sell post of all time easily. And sorry for those who we can't get to today, because there's so many great ones, but
yeah,
because of all the responses we have, we will make this more than one show for sure. We will come back and use some of the ones that we didn't get to that hit us up at the voicemail line at 323-524-7924 or on Twitter at LockedOnLAC. But make sure you guys are also checking out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 sports streaming channel, the first of its kind, where you can get sports around the clock, all around the country, but with the insight that only the local Locked On experts can bring you. There's nothing quite like it, so subscribe to the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 sports streaming channel, also available on the Amazon TV Fire Channel app. David, let's get to this next buy or sell here, which is a really, really good one coming from Miles Williams, who says this: buy or sell, Tarheeb Still will establish himself as a week 1 starting corner. You buying or selling that?
So I'm going to buy it. I think Ja'Sir Taylor got his opportunity to try to lock down that slot cornerback position last year. That didn't work. They tried Asante Samuel Jr. in the slot. It just didn't work either. So honestly, I think with Tarheeb Still, his skill set lends itself quite perfectly for the slot position. He's a fantastic tackler. He has some real ball skills, had 5 interceptions last year in college football. I think this guy, just all around makeup wise, is really suited for that slot corner position, which is where I believe he will start week 1 for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, to me, as funny as it sounds, like I kind of just think to myself, like, who reminds me more of Mikey Samerstill, right? At Michigan, like he had last year, who led all college football with interceptions. And to me, one of these guys is clearly more like him than the other, and that is Tarheeb Still, who I will buy is going to be the starting corner in week 1. I guess the way I would kind of explain it, though, is that I don't think it's going to be super easy. I think there's better parts of Ja'Sir Taylor's game that we haven't seen yet. Like, I think the good from Ja'Sir Taylor was good. I think it's just when you have the bad that was also mixed in there, it's hard to just say, okay, hey, he is the guy. He's the guy going into it. It's his job to lose going into training camp, at least from the lineups we've seen out there so far defensively. Yeah. But the thing that makes the difference for me is just the run defense. Like, Ja'Sir Taylor was really bad in run defense last year, missed 8 tackles, which is 23.5% of the attempts that he had, which is a big, big number. And I just think that the run stopping ability that Tarheeb Still has shown, and just the ability to play close to the line of scrimmage and do the dirty work that's needed to play that effectively, I think Tarheeb Still has that. I think you also combine that with all the praise that we've heard from the coaches, all the praise that we've heard about him, the players, even the clips that we saw coming out of OTAs where he's almost intercepting Justin Herbert and he's picking off Easton Stick. I think he has what you want there. How fast will it come along? Will he have enough chances to go win it? Yeah, I think he will. And I think Ja'Sir Taylor gets a fresh start, so like he will have chances to win the job as well. I'm just a really big fan of Tarheeb Still's game, man. I'm excited to see him out there. But let's get to this next one here from Big Daddy E, who says, buy or sell, one of the outside cornerbacks, Christian Fulton, will thrive in Jesse Minter's defense, become the CB1 that we need, and earn a long-term extension with the Chargers. Thanks as always. I appreciate both of your work. I appreciate you, Big Daddy. This is a tough one because the thing is like, this is to me what you're weighing, right? Like he could play great, then he's going to cost more.
Yeah.
It could make you a very happy team with some compensatory pick, or a pretty nice one potentially. But also the cornerback depth in 2025 and beyond is non-existent. So David, are you buying or selling this one?
Yeah. So for me, I'm going to sell it. Christian Fulton's got to show me. First, he's coming off of 2 kind of mediocre to bad seasons on the field while dealing with injuries. So you're going to have to prove to me that you're a better scheme fit and that you can stay healthy and you can produce. But also, I think it comes down to another corner that's in a contract year, and I believe that's going to be the guy who gets the contract. That's Asante Samuel Jr. I think if he balls out like I kind of expect him to, I feel like he might break out this year. If he does, I feel like he's going to be the one that gets the contract. And Christian Fulton, whether he plays well or not, I feel like he's going to turn into a comp pick and he's going to walk after this year.
Yeah, I would sell it too because it is, going to be a decision. I don't think they're going to re-sign both of those guys.
Yeah, it's one or the other.
Asante Samuel Jr. and him. And the only thing that gives me pause is just because you literally have nobody, right? Like you have Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still, Jasir Taylor, and Dean Leonard in that room in 2025 and beyond. And like even in that case, like you have 2 guys in Dean Leonard and Jasir Taylor that all of a sudden next year are going into the final year of their contracts, which makes me feel old for some reason. Yeah, I think the problem is I think he would have to have a solid but not great year to get re-signed, where it's like he's good enough to where you want to bring him back just so you know that you have somebody there, but he's not big enough where Joe Ortiz is going to hesitate to give the contract needed to keep him. So I think it's a sell. I think he will have a much better season than he had last year. I just don't necessarily think that even if he does it, he gets paid. And if I can't bet on that, it's hard for me to buy it because it's like if I felt like, hey, if he has 6 picks this year, the Chargers are going to sign him to, $18 million a year, and I felt confident about that, I would buy it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, even if he plays well, there's a part of me that doesn't think he's going to get re-signed, which is why I have to sell it for this moment. But that's a great question we have, or a great buy or sell we have here from Ryan Johnson. David will get to before we wrap things up. Buy or sell, the Chargers will once again have fewer than 10 team interceptions this year. Had to look this up. The Chargers had 9 interceptions last year, which is shameful, to be honest.
Crazy.
David, please tell me that you're selling the Chargers will have less than 10 interceptions in 2024.
Not only am I selling it, I'm emphatically selling it by saying that they're going to double that amount this season. I think they're going to have not 9. I think they're going to have 20. And I'm going to give it. And I'm going to give you numbers here too. I think Derwin snags 3. I think Deion Henley snags 3. I like him in his coverage ability in the middle. I think Christian Fulton's going to grab 2. I think Asante Samuel Jr. is going to have 5. I think he's going to have a big season here. And then I got Lohi getting 3. I got Tarheeb Still getting 2. Junior Colson getting 1. And Cam Hart getting 1. Because I do feel like at some point this season,
20.
He's going to get on the football field. That's 20 interceptions from me and this Chargers defense.
Yeah, I think you're high. 20 is a lot. I mean, 9 is despicable, but 20 is that's too far. I absolutely, as far as the 10 goes, though, 10's easy to me. I think if you're trying to kind of go through that, like, I know you gave people, but like, I think it's more about what you have now compared to what you did have, right? Like, sure. Kenneth Murray and Eric Kendricks combined for a grand total of 1 interception last year.
It was Kenneth Murray.
Like Zot and Gilman tied for the most last year, and each of them only had 2.
Yeah.
So, like, I just don't think that you're going to see, like, that low of numbers being the high point. Like, I think you could absolutely see Derwin James get 2 or 3 after only having 1 last year.
Right.
You could see Asante Samuel Jr. getting 4 or 5 picks, and it doesn't feel like it's out of the realm of possibility at all. I also just randomly think that Khalil Mack's going to have an interception this year. Like, it just feels like Khalil Mack is due for an interception this year. I don't know why. But when I was thinking about this, I just thought, you know what? Khalil Mack's going to get an interception this year. He might even take it back, but, like, I just want to see someone have to tackle Khalil Mack again, because watching, wide receivers have to debate whether they want to try to tackle or quarterbacks try to tackle Khalil Mack. It's like, you know what? Maybe make a business decision.
Especially after he ripped the ball out of Drake London's hands.
Yeah, I little boyed him. It was scary. It made me more scary than Khalil Mack than I've ever been. But he's done everything else. I think he gets a pick this year as well.
I love it.
That's going to wrap things up for today's show. Like I said, to everyone, Athir, I'm sorry we weren't able to get to you. I'm sorry we weren't able to get to all of the people that contributed at Locked On LAC or called on the voicemail line. We had really good voicemails. We had really, really good buy or sells on Twitter that we weren't able to get to on the show. But guess what? The offseason is still here. So we will get to a lot of the ones we didn't get to today on the next buy or sell show. So thank you guys for contributing. We appreciate you guys. To make sure you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. And you can also find the show every day on our social media at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and on our Locked On Chargers Facebook page, as well as on my Twitter at Dan Talk Sports and David Drogemeyer's at Dro Talk SD. Make sure you guys are back here on Wednesday because we have another, spoiler alert, very special guest coming on the show. We have Kevin Ostreicher, who is awesome, one of the most insightful Ravens experts in the business. We're bringing on Wednesday's show to talk about so much, right? J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, what happened with Greg Roman in Baltimore, what can we expect from Jesse Minter in this new defense. So much great stuff, and he has really, really good answers for all of it. So make sure you guys are back here on Wednesday. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.